This meeting is being recorded. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so welcome to another Oasis Community Town Hall. Let's begin and let's look at what we have on the agenda for today. Cool. So as usual, we'll start with the quick engineering and state of the network update. Then we'll have Nick, our technical product lead, present Sapphire and how to make confidentiality features available also to more users and other networks. This will then be followed by ecosystem updates and the presentation of some of our hackathon winners. And at the end, we'll do a quick round of Q&A. Okie doke, so let's get started. Next slide, please. Cool. Next slide. Right, so I'll briefly talk about what has happened since the last town hall. So on the engineering front, the major thing that happened was the much anticipated Oasis Core release that brought a few interesting things under the hood. Most notably, enabling support for this new form of remote attestations, which basically makes it makes the network more accessible to a wider range of hardware, like the latest generation Xeon CPUs. We also have some governance improvements in there that will make it easier in the future to do quick network upgrades, and a bunch of security improvements related to paradigms that are running in trusted execution environments in preparation of all of the confidential paradigms launching. We also have the Sapphire paradigm running on the testnet. It has gone through a couple of upgrades that brought interesting functionality, such as the additional EVM precompiles that really enable the confidentiality related features, such as the ability to encrypt events. And in the pipeline, there is also support for introducing a random number generator that's accessible from EVM smart contracts that should enable more use cases specifically related to various on-chain games. One of the things that should be highlighted is also the request for proposals, or RFP, that we have going on. So we've published an RFP for confidential token standards because it's important to have a unified set of standards on how to build confidential tokens, and there's a variety of different flavors that these tokens can come in. So we are asking anyone in the community that has ideas for how this should look like to submit proposals. This can be done through the ADR's repository. Then the last but not least is also the greatly overhauled documentation, which we are trying to bring more to the developers developing on top of the Sapphire paradigm and others, to make it more accessible and to add tutorials. And we are also adding more tutorials in the future. Okie doke, so that was that briefly, and onwards to Nick, who will present Sapphire and also a way to bring confidentiality to a broader set of users. So Nick, the floor is yours.
Cool, thanks, Jay. Cool, so I'll be presenting Sapphire, the paradigm that we launched. You probably already know about it, and how it can be used for confidentiality as a layer 1, and then composability as what we're now calling a sidechain. And I think you're going to really like this because it enables Sapphire to be used by a much wider audience, and that should bring more usage to the platform. Okay, next slide, please. Great. So we're going to start with Sapphire as a confidential layer 1. So as you know, it's a confidential EVM, and because it's a confidential EVM, it requires little to no change to user flows. And this is super important because users are very resistant to change. They do not want to use new software, new wallets, new anything really. It's great to go where the users are because users are what we care about most. We also care about developers, but not necessarily as much, because the cost that it requires to port an app to use confidentiality for a dev is a one-time cost. It's totally fine. You can just pay that and you get confidentiality going forward. But still, we care about developers because developers are also our users. So we make it very easy for developers to port because it's also solidity. And if they want to port, then all you need to do is make sure that they're not leaking secrets. And that's quite simple. Okay, so the other things that we have for Sapphire, that you have confidentiality, and then you can start to move assets and other sorts of data to L1s, to our first-class bridging support. So that's going to be launching very soon, and it actually will be, I'll talk about that more in the next slide. Well, 2 slides from now. And then in addition to that, we have very novel features that come with confidentiality. So gone are the days of oracles for generating random numbers. You can just generate that within your contract. It's very cheap, very simple, very convenient programming model. And you can also do signing and encryption, which allows you to, say, for instance, conduct a confidential chat app or something other crazy idea by emitting encrypted data as Ethereum logs. So it really opens up novel possibilities for the kinds of dApps you can build. And then because of all these features, you can do some Sapphire is a very great platform for things like gaming, DeFi, so for instance, zero MUP, of course you know this, and confidential payments to make sure that your competitors in your NFT dApps, your gaming dApps, and so forth can't steal your biggest users, or whatever you might want to use confidential payments for. I don't know, whatever it is, don't tell me, I don't want to know. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so here's a self-service demo, but it's not entirely self-service. Minia will give you a actual walkthrough of. Okay. Anyway, So if you were fast enough to scan that QR code, you'll be at a GitHub repo that links to this website. So anyway, this is a Wordle-ish clone. It's not Wordle, it's Wordle-ish. So it's not a clone, in fact. It's actually a Wordle kind of game where you submit words to the network. The word is stored confidentiality within a Sapphire confidential smart contract, and your goal is to guess it. So whenever you hit one of these, whenever you guess, you submit a call to the gateway. It has a key. The gateway executes a confidential smart contract within a trusted execution environment provided by the most excellent Oasis network, and returns whether your guess is, well, how correct your guess is. So, right, so Minia will show us how this works by going to puzzle number 2. Yes, fantastic. Okay, so puzzle number 2. So let's say that, so right now it's going to load how many people want it. Okay, so you see that. So let's select enter a word like opals or guess anything. With yes, opals. 5 words. 5. It's yeah, I guess it's fine. Okay, so we can see that it didn't require a transaction, but it actually resolved quite quickly. So if you actually looked at in your browser console, which you're not going to do right now, but you're encouraged to do on your own, you'll actually see that this is an encrypted transaction that's being wrapped and formatted for Sapphire using the Sapphire Paratime Compatibility Library, which you've been advertising quite heavily. So this makes it so that it's not the runtime or you can see the guess or the word. So the word is protected by the runtime and your guess is protected by the end-to-end encryption. So now if, so Minia can actually win this by typing Oasis, because like, why wouldn't you type Oasis? What? Oh, that's weird. Maybe this one actually is opals. Can you try opals? Sorry. OPALS, yeah. Oh, big winner. Okay, so now it's going to submit a transaction on Sapphire testnet. Right, and so if Minia had any actual Sapphire test token, then he could submit this transaction. So you can do that on your own by heading to the Sapphire testnet faucet, well, the Oasis faucet at faucet-testnet-oasis.dev, and then you get some tokens. Anyway, so this is the demo. You can try it on your own. If you have any questions for that, please add them to the questions, the Dory, and then we can just get back to those later. Anyway, so this game is a very simple example of how you can use confidentiality for gaming using Sapphire. So if you actually look at the code, which you're linked to in the GitHub repo from that fun QR code that you need 1 second to scan, then you'll actually see the code, and that's just very straightforward Solidity. Any developer can write it, and it doesn't really require very many extra skills beyond simply writing Solidity. Quite nice. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Right, so now that leads us to our new big product push, which is the Sapphire confidentiality sidechain. So you all probably know that convincing people to use a new network is very challenging. So what we're going to do is we're going to be bringing confidentiality to users to their other networks. So we're going to be providing confidentiality on Ethereum, Polygon, and all sorts of other fun networks that people are actually using. So the idea is that assets and users and basically everything users care about stay on the home chain. And then you do confidentiality requiring pieces on Sapphire. So if you think about a secure enclave, Oasis uses secure enclaves for privacy, but we don't put the entire Oasis network in a secure enclave. We only put the very most privacy requiring parts in the enclave. So what Sapphire is doing as a sidechain is it's essentially a sort of abstraction of a secure enclave. You put the bulk of the DApp on your home chain where everything's located, and you put the most secure parts within Sapphire. And due to our very convenient bridge and first-class support for bridging, you can bridge messages back and forth, allowing logic on Sapphire to control assets on the home chain without actually bridging the assets over. And of course, this is very useful for gaming, NFTs, payments, identity. It's fantastic. And then for developers, of course, it's as easy as using Sapphire. Slightly harder because now you have 2 networks to consider, and like you need to figure out how to split your DApp into public and private components. But our goal is to get it so that you can start onboarding as a developer in under 15 minutes. I think that we're very well on our way to doing that. Then for users, the idea is that you don't even know Sapphire exists. You just get confidentiality. Like you're using privacy, you're benefiting from it, but you don't have to. If you don't want to know about it, you don't have to. It's like it should be completely simple. Like we use gas relayers, the same wallets, everything's perfectly compatible. So It's just like using your home network, but now you have confidentiality. So overall, I think this is a really good approach that we're trying right now, and it's very appropriate for the sort of overall market, which is going very much L2, a plethora of blockchains, interconnectedness. So I'm very excited for us to be going down this route. And if you have any feedback, please again post questions and join the community channels. I'm very happy to get your feedback. Cool. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so this is a demo. You'll see it. I'm just going to talk over it.
Way to add confidential lottery to an existing NFT. So in this case, our NFT is on Emerald. This is AI Rose, but the NFT can be located on Ethereum or anywhere the assets or users are. So by the end of this demo, we should see that when you click this check prize button, it will submit a transaction, and then we'll see whether we got a prize or not. And of course, the lottery operators will not be able to be accused of favoritism or any other sort of cheating because we're using the confidentiality features of Sapphire. Okay, let's see how this works. So we have two contracts, one deployed to Emerald, one deployed to Sapphire. The Emerald one will allow you to claim reward. The claim reward function will send a message to the Sapphire contract asking it for the reward that the user has. The Sapphire contract holds the rewards in confidential storage and gives them out randomly to the contract that requested it, in this case, the lottery controller. Checks right here. Okay, so it checks the reward that the user has and then calls back into the Emerald contract where the assets are located and then disperses the reward right here. Okay, so you can see the contracts deployed here. This is the one on Emerald. This is the lottery controller, and the one on Sapphire. This is the one that actually contains the rewards the user should get. So this one doesn't have any balance because the assets, of course, are not stored on Sapphire. They're stored on Emerald. Okay, so let's actually see that in action. Check my prize. I am going to send a transaction to the Emerald testnet. Note that I am not sending it to Sapphire. I, as a user, do not even need to know that Sapphire exists. So I confirm, and then I wait a little bit. So right now, we should see that the claim reward function has been called. Okay, fantastic. That means that the message is now being processed by the bridge and be picked up by Sapphire anytime soon. Might take a while though. So we're actually working on faster and more efficient bridge solutions that require less trust. But right now you have to wait about 6 seconds, well, over 6 seconds for the block to be finalized and for the next block to be picked up on the remote network, in this case, Sapphire. That's okay. For many cases like games, you're really doing the settlement of the assets kind of late. So you basically have all the logic on your, well, you have all the logic going on perhaps in Sapphire, and then you like send one message back to Ethereum to release the assets. So it ends up with the user not having actually too much to do. Okay, actually here, where's that transaction? Oh, maybe that was this one. Strange. Oh, okay, I guess the Block Explorer hasn't picked it up yet. Anyway, we got 0 rows, that sucks. Oh well. Hey, but we can try again.
Hey, Minya, this could be the same thing. So if you just want to continue, I think that our audience gets the idea.
Confirm.
Cool. Thanks so much for clicking through the slides.
Cool.
Right,
yeah, thanks, Nick. Cool. So thanks, Nick, yeah, for the presentation. So this really opens up some exciting possibilities. And now it's time for Linda for some ecosystem updates.
Absolutely. Thanks, Yone and Nick. Hello, everyone. This is Linda, head of ecosystem at Oasis. And before I start, definitely encourage everyone to ask questions. Definitely get the questions coming in, either on Zoom, and we're also trying to open the chat on YouTube. So if you have questions, ask there as well, or go back to our Discord channel, Telegram, or Reddit channels to ask us questions about anything you have heard on over this presentation. We definitely encourage people to ask questions, and we'll do our best to make sure that your questions are answered and addressed. And thank you so much. Cool. Let's move on to the slides of the ecosystem updates. Next one. Yeah, so Q3, definitely a lot of things have happened on the Oasis ecosystem. So we had, we're just talking about it category by category. So on the NFT side, I think Q2, everyone remember we launched the one of the artists in the community, Bishop, launched the very first confidential NFT collection. And in Q3, we had more confidential NFT collections like this one, Sebara, which is added more utility to their NFT collections, which is pretty cool. And we also have a community project called Ganesh, which is launched this confidential NFT minting tool, minting dApp, to enable more artists, NFT artists, to launch confidential NFT and bring more utility to their artwork. And we think these could really be very helpful and useful to the NFT artists, creators, community to bring more utility to the NFT space. And on the gaming side, quite a few games have launched on the Oasis network on Emerald Paradigm, which is very exciting. So we have Blockchain Cuties, we have Guardies, Histopia, RuneGuard, and Fair Gaming Protocol, and there are more coming to the network soon as well. And these projects are really gaining momentum and doing great work on the network. And we hope the community members really enjoy playing their games. Next one. And in Q3, we hope people probably have noticed we started to really ramping up on our thought leadership. One thing about Oasis is that I think the community is fully aware that Oasis is really working on some really cool technology, like confidential compute, privacy technology, and all these cool things that really kind of like propel Web3 forward. But the technology itself is quite nuanced, and sometimes it definitely needs a lot of education and mostly on our end to further democratize these knowledge and technology to the community members. That's why we're ramping up on thought leadership pieces and articles to further explain what we're working on, what are those technologies and why they're important, why they matter to Web3, to the broader crypto community. So like in Q3, like we launched these pieces, like a kind of like an easy explainer of what Oasis Network is, what is our technology, demystifying this kind of like privacy technology, how privacy works and why privacy matters. And last but not least, quite a few pieces around Sapphire, the confidential EVM paradigm launched on Oasis Network testnet in Q3. What does it do? What does Sapphire do? And why Sapphire is kind of groundbreaking for Solidity developers, and why Sapphire can enable Web3 to move to the next stage. We'll have more thought leadership pieces coming up in Q4 around the story, like how the confidentiality and the composability of Sapphire, and how Sapphire as a sidechain could enable dApps developers on other chains, like home chains such as Polygon, Ethereum, and other EVM chains. You know, how can Sapphire enable those dApp developers without necessarily leaving their home chains to further bring privacy and confidentiality, adding those features to their dApp, and to further move forward with Web3. Next one. Yeah, and beyond NFT, gaming, and some thought leadership, we also announced 2 major enterprise partnerships in Q3. So these are kind of household names. Everyone is fully aware. So first is Oasis partner with Meta, and using Oasis confidential compute privacy technology to help Meta assess fairness in their AI machine learning models. And the second partnership announcement was actually from last week or so, is Oasis is working with Equifax, one of the biggest credit bureaus in the United States, as well as broader North America, and even in the global, global wise, to work together to enable on-chain KYC to further propel Web3 forward. And next one, we'll have more partnerships coming up, and basically Oasis, the way we approach privacy is that we're not doing this alone, and we're working together with a broader community, with enterprise partners, with pretty much all the stakeholders. We want to work with all the stakeholders in the space and work together, educate the market, and bring privacy, bring Web3 to the next phase. Next slide, please. Yeah, and another thing that our community has been honing on in Q3 is we started to do a lot more than we before, especially around dev-oriented activities and events. So we started with quite a few those Twitter spaces with other communities. We started to work together, work a lot more closely with other dev communities that might or might not be previously associated with Oasis, such as this with Alpha Venture DAO, which is kind of incubator dev community, and talk about Oasis and then why privacy and how do we bring privacy and scalability to Web3, and as well as with other dev communities talk about the privacy and how to bring more utility to the NFT space. So we'll do more. So definitely stay tuned for more Twitter spaces and some other dev activities within the community. Next slide, please. Yeah, and we actually have one event coming up very soon, tomorrow. So as people, some of us might know that this week a lot of events, a lot of conferences are happening. So we have Web Summit in Lisbon this week. We also have San Francisco Blockchain Week happening this week as well. So tomorrow in San Francisco, we'll be hosting Oasis Web3 Devs Meetup. And so it's tomorrow 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. And the location is as stated on the slide. I'm not going to repeat that. And we have free food, beverage, and swag. And so definitely do welcome all the devs and community members who are interested in knowing more about Oasis, who are interested in knowing how to bring privacy to their Web3 applications. If you're interested in knowing those things, definitely do join us at the meetup. You will meet great developers, great founders, entrepreneurs, and we hope really exciting communication can happen at the meetup. Next one. Last but not least, everyone probably knew that we recently launched the Sapphire Hackathon called Keep It Confidential. And we actually recently concluded that. It was a 1 month long hackathon. And drum roll, please. We're very happy to announce the top 3 winners of the hackathon. So the top 1 is ARX, ARX, which is a fully decentralized peer-to-peer platform for on-ramp and off-ramp fiat platform. And the second is Momentum, which is the first on-chain confidential messaging app on the Oasis network. And the third one is called On-Chain ID, which does which is a confidential on-chain personal data solution. And big congrats to the teams, to the top 3 winners, and a huge thanks to everyone else who participated in the hackathon and building really amazing, your very first dApp, privacy dApp on Sapphire. And with that, I would like to give the stage to Alice from ARX, who won the Sapphire Hackathon as a top 1 winner. And Alice will talk more about what they have built on Sapphire and what their expectation and what's their plan going forward.
Thank you. Can you please switch to the ARC slide? Okay, thank you. So thank you, Linda, and thanks everybody for joining the event today, and thank you for inviting me. So I'm Alice, and I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of ARX. So let me give you a brief introduction about what we are building and why we have decided to build ARX. So the idea about ARX started when we were thinking about bringing a fully trustless, decentralized, and secure way to ramp your fiat to crypto and also to cash your crypto out to fiat. So I think that everybody is familiar with P2P in general, since the P2P is a way of buying and selling crypto. So we are big fans of the P2P trading approach in terms of dealing between crypto and fiat, since it gives quite strong flexibility level, because you can use any payment method or fiat currency that works the best for you. So can you switch to the next slide, please? So a common problem with existing platforms is a trust. So some P2P platforms can, for example, let's say, block your funds, delete your accounts, or perhaps even force you to provide some documentation to them that is not obtainable for many users, or simply requires an extra step. So for people who care about their privacy or safety of their funds, it's not always so fun. So we see that existing solutions as problematic. So we decided to design a superior P2P platform that removes all of these issues and can utilize decentralized technology to its full potential. So with the traditional P2P trading approach, arbitration is used to resolve disputes between fiat and crypto trading parties. So if some party claimed that fiat has been sent, but in reality, it hasn't been sent, an arbitrator, usually it is the employee of the P2P platform, is involved in the deal. So arbitrator is collecting evidence from both sides, for example, let's say copies of bank transfer receipts, and deciding who is right and who is wrong. So, and settling crypto locked in escrow to a person with the most valid looking evidence. Actually, at ARX, we think that such an approach is not fitting well for the DeFi values, since it is a centralized approach that can be corrupted, or moreover, there is no way for a moderator to validate evidence that, with high enough accuracy. For example, a scammer can prepare fake bank receipts or statements with good quality and trick the arbitrator. So we have came up with a fully innovative solution for this problem that I will talk about on the next slide. So can you switch to the next slide, please? ARX aims to be what Uniswap did for regular swaps in DeFi, but for fiat. We're bringing a fully seamless product for DeFi users. Security, privacy, and ease of access were the core values that we had in mind, and we have achieved those goals with the architecture we have built ARX with. There is no need to fill some long, boring verification forms, download a desktop application, or store your funds on our servers, since ARX is non-custodial, which improves the security of our users. We have been able to design ARX as a fully decentralized solution with no need to rely on any humans to ensure safety of deals. Using a fundamental from game theory that is called Nash equilibrium, we can prevent scammers from doing harm if it is clear for those scammers that this action will be a loss for them. So if they know that they will not be able to win, and it is proven mathematically. So it can be achieved by having users to back their deals with a collateral. So both sides of the deal on ARX have to provide 25% of the collateral of their deal volume. So if the parties will not reach a consensus about the deal, for example, one party is claiming that fiat has been sent, but in reality it hasn't been sent. So if they will not be able to reach a consensus in time, before the deal expiration, both sides will get their collateral locked. So both parties are inclined to resolve the deal peacefully because their collateral is at stake. So this approach as a fundamental concept will allow ARX to establish a reliable safety layer for all our users with no need to trust their money to anyone else. Can you switch to the next slide, please? So why we have chosen Sapphire? We have chosen Sapphire as we think that privacy in DeFi is one of the next big things. So, and privacy has always been one of our core values for ARX. So it was naturally a good fit for us when we were introduced to a Sapphire privacy layer. With Sapphire being EVM compatible, it takes it to a whole new level with many new possibilities and with a lot of flexibility. In this hackathon, we demonstrated one of the use cases, which is privacy tokens and private trading volume. As Sapphire is an EVM compatible layer, it also makes it easy for existing projects to port over the Sapphire layer or just deploy new contracts with a few new lines of code. The hackathon was a really nice experience for us, and we really liked seeing that people had built with this new technology, which was really cool. As Sapphire is EVM compatible, as I mentioned before, the deployment and development was quite easy for us as you expected. So we didn't have any major issues, but we have noticed that there is a requirement of users having to sign through their wallet to read data from the chain. So this would cause constant pop-ups like model windows. We do have a solution in mind that we're discussing internally for now, and that our CTO will create improvement proposal to contribute to Sapphire. So during the hackathon, we also got to contribute directly to the ecosystem with our pull requests for the graph node proxy, so that other developers can utilize this code as well. As a final note from us, we would like to thank you for inviting us to the hackathon and to this great town hall event. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. So yeah, thank you, Alice and Linda, for the nice presentations. Next, we'll be answering some questions from the community. Let's see. Okay, first one. Are there any more details on wrapped confidential transactions without requiring signing? Nick, maybe you can take this one.
Right, I definitely can. Sorry about that. I had to find the tab. So yeah, so transactions that don't require signing, unfortunately, those don't exist because, of course, any transaction you must sign or be processed by the network. But you can have calls that may be signed or not signed, but in either case, they can be confidential or not confidential. So by default, they're confidential. So what happens is you can sign a call. So as you saw in our Wordle-ish demo, those transactions, there weren't transactions, there were calls, they were being submitted without signing. So in that case, the message.sender in Solidity, or just the general from address in your ETH call, is set to 0. If you were to sign it, however, the runtime would pick that up and then set the message.sender to the actual address that you signed it from. And that's useful for doing, for instance, on-chain access control within like gas-free ETH calls that still provide confidentiality. So confidentiality is always, but you don't have to always sign it. And then for user experience, it's actually better if you don't sign it, because like MetaMask will give you this pop-up.
Yeah, so because ARCs is showing a balance in a lot of places, and since we want to keep balance confidential and private, we had to make a multi-call for Sapphire that is supporting special Ethereum standard that is called trusted forwarder. So our multi-call is a trusted forwarder for our other contracts, and our multi-call is forwarding original user sender address. So that was one of the things that we would like to have an improvement on Oasis side. Like we had in mind something like certified sessions. For example, user can request a certificate from some smart contract, that let's call it a system smart contract, to have an access for private calls for some limited time without signing the pop-up model window,
Right.
if you got what I mean.
Common feature, I agree with you. I can agree completely. Like user experience is super important. In fact, you can actually already do that, but it's undocumented. So the way sign calls work is that you basically create the signature over the call that you're going to make. Then you add what's known as a leash. The leash isn't valid for too long. It's valid for like approximately either like 5 or 10 transactions, then like 15 or so blocks. You can adjust that as much as you want. You can actually cache the signed query and store that, and then resend that every single time, so you're not signing every single time. So that is actually an upcoming feature in the compatibility library that will cache signed calls when possible. But overall, you don't need to do any on-chain or much labor. It's just a matter of making sure you cache those calls. So yeah, more news on the horizon. But yeah, you identified a really important pressing user user experience concern that we're actively working on.
Yeah,
Cool.
that sounds great. I would like to see this new feature.
Same.
Cool. Yeah, I think thanks for the answer and the discussion. Okie doke, next thing. Any roadmap for Sapphire release on mainnet? We can't wait. So the goal is to have it ready by the end of the year. Okay, next thing. Is there a way to use ARCs or a GitHub to check out? Maybe Alice can answer this one.
Yeah, so at this moment, ARCs is in private testnet stage, but like in few weeks, we will go to a fully public testnet, including Sapphire as well. So if you would like to check it out or participate, we would love you to follow our Twitter and join our Discord and get in touch with you. Yeah, so that's it.
Cool, thanks. Okay, next one. Does Sapphire have existing Launchpad or Launchpad projects? Okay, Linda, maybe you can take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we actually got quite a lot of overwhelming interest from the community, and thank you all for voicing those interests. Yeah, so there are actually a few Launchpad have kind of already lined up and are waiting for Sapphire to launch on mainnet, and then they want to pull over. And some could be just deploy Solidity-based Launchpad, and some might add confidentiality features to the Launchpad, like a secret bidding or something. So yeah, we do have a few projects lined up to waiting for Sapphire to get on mainnet.
Cool, thanks. Okay. Can identity credentials minted on Sapphire be used on other chains? Okay, maybe Nick, you can take this one.
Right, so identity credentials on Sapphire can be used on other chains if you write the logic for bridging it over. So one thing that we're actually working on right now is, I mean, I'm sure you've all heard of the Equifax partnership. You can have your KYC credential exist on Sapphire in full detail, including like your birthday, your address, your, even your credit score. But then you can bridge selective parts of that. So in a form of doing selective disclosure over to networks like Ethereum, Emerald, and so forth, including just, for instance, aspects of that. For instance, like, are you over 18? So if you're over 18, you can like participate in some gambling DApp, aka Uniswap on Ethereum. So you can do that, right? So Sapphire and other networks are very fully compatible in terms of identity credentials and verifiable credentials overall.
Cool, thanks, Nick. Okay, next one. Let's see. When Sapphire is launched, will its transaction fee be as low as other paradigms? Yes, that should be the case. So Sapphire should also be very competitive in terms of fees. Cool. Next one, again related to ARCs. How does ARCs interface fiat with crypto? Alice.
Yeah, so ARCs itself is not taking custody of fiat. So what ARCs is doing is making such conditions for both parties, because one party wants to sell fiat. So this party will send you as a, for example, you are a crypto seller, you want to sell your crypto, and fiat party will send you fiat directly on your, for example, bank account or any other payment system, PayPal or whatever. So, and when fiat is sent, fiat sender party has to confirm that fiat has been sent. And after, you as a fiat receiver party have to confirm that fiat has been received. And when you've done that, your crypto is released to fiat sender or crypto buyer in this case. So what ARCs is doing is building such a conditions where it will be unprofitable, I mean, not profitable for any of parties to lie to the system about the fiat state, because otherwise they can lose more than they can earn from trying to scam. So that's what Nash equilibrium stands for in game theory.
Cool, thanks, Alice. Let's see. Oh, another one. So is there a Discord invite link for ARCs?
Yeah, so you can open our website, arcs.cash, and there will be a Discord link.
Cool. Thank you. How do you think the privacy features of Web3 can empower society? Okay, Linda, can you take this one?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, this is a really great question. Actually, kind of like circle back to the whole vision and mission why Oasis exists. So we think about Web3 as it is today or over the past 2 years. We still think Web3, the crypto community, is still very limited to crypto enthusiasts. People were really passionate about crypto, and but expanding from where we are today to the mainstream population, the mainstream market, I think there's still a long way to go. And I think we're not saying privacy is the only fix for that, but privacy definitely plays a critical role to further expand the Web3 community from where we are today to a much larger market. And the reason we say that is think about some of the dApps that launched over the past couple of years, like Avi, amazing application, this kind of like decentralized lending, but that is still very much limited to people who already hold crypto, and people want to buy more loans to do more things with it. But how can we help applications like Avi or some other lending dApps to really kind of like expand to people who need lending to solve their financial needs, such as student loan, mortgage or something. So that will require the lending dApp to start to accept some sort of under-collateralized loans. And the reason to do that, and the way one of the ways to do that is you start to maybe bring decentralized identity, because how it works now is like most of the loans are over-collateralized, and that's how lending companies can make sure that they're actually doing business that actually is profitable. But to enable under-collateralized lending in the crypto world, it is a little bit challenging as is now. But if we bring privacy, we started using privacy to bring more decentralized identity and bring some sort of off-chain data, such as credit score, such as some other like social data that related to you, and can help the underwriter realize, hey, we actually don't necessarily need this person to provide over-collateralized more collateral. We can actually, because use the data we gather from this person and wrap on as a decentralized identity, we can probably offer the loan to this person and actually help this person solve some of the needs that he or she might be facing. Could be with schools, could be with housing and stuff. So that we think once we have those decentralized lending app that actually can cater to the mainstream market, we believe that really can solve a huge need in the current society, because we're definitely living in a society where we have a lot of people who are unbanked, that don't have access to banks, don't have access to credit card, don't have access to a lot of those accessible and affordable loan opportunities. So hopefully with privacy feature and we can enable more dApps to start to offer those kind of applications and start cater to market that is outside the traditional or current crypto enthusiast, and start to reach out to people from the mainstream market. So that's so we still have a long way to go, but definitely encourage Web3 developers to work on and start and solve those really hard issues in the Web3, such as DID and such as how can we go from where we are today to the mainstream market.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Linda, for this thorough answer. Cool. Next one. Does Sapphire interact with MetaMask the same way as Emerald from the developer and user point of view? Maybe Nick?
Sorry, my internet was not quite great. So you turn out if you like disable VPN for like 3 seconds, like 1 second, Zoom is like, no, not going to happen, and it immediately shuts off. I was feeling confident.
Okay. Shall I repeat?
Yeah, please do that. Sorry. Thanks, Julia.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So does Sapphire interact with MetaMask the same way as Emerald from the developer and user point of view?
Very complicated build up to a very simple question. The answer is yes.
Yeah, it's built to be really nice to integrate and seem as seamless as possible for the users and developers.
Yeah, and
Cool.
you guys just saw from the demo, right? Like when we're doing this Wordle-ish demo, and you saw one of our colleagues presenting the screen and the MetaMask, how the Wordle-ish game interact with MetaMask connect to Sapphire testnet. Like it's quite similar, pretty much the same as you will use the MetaMask to interact dApps built on Ethereum or other EVM chains. So we are very confident that this experience should be very smooth for users without much of a barrier.
Right, and in the future, it could be even made more smooth by leveraging things like MetaMask snaps, which will be once they become more stable in the future. Cool. Let's see. I think we have exhausted the list of questions. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone who submitted questions. And yeah, thank you very much for joining the town hall. And yeah, please, if you're not there yet, take this moment to join our community and social media channels. And also feel free to ask further questions there, even after the presentation. So yeah, thank you very much to all the presenters and of course to you, the community, for attending. See you around.
Thank you.
Thank you.